The vast chamber of the Galactic Council was filled with the buzzing hum of alien voices, each one from a different corner of the galaxy. Hundreds of species, each more advanced than the last, had gathered in this enormous room. The council wasn't just a gathering of leaders. It was the most powerful group in the galaxy, holding sway over planets, resources, and the future of countless civilizations. Earth, represented by Captain Elias Graves, was the newest member of this galactic group. Elias stood at the front of the room, looking calm as always, but his mind was racing. He knew this moment was coming. The Galactic Council had been eager to show humanity their place in the universe, eager to remind them they were just a small player in a much larger game. Today, the Council was going to demand tribute from humanity, something that every other species in the galaxy had been forced to do when they first joined. It was tradition, a rite of passage of sorts. The Council's chamber was a spectacle. Huge, alien-shaped pillars stretched to the ceiling, and the walls flickered with holographic images of distant worlds. At the far end of the room, on a massive raised platform, sat the Council leaders. Among them was Thrakal, the head of the Galactic Council. He was a towering figure, his reptilian skin shimmering under the bright lights. His eyes were cold and calculating, and his voice echoed with authority. "You stand before us, human," Thrakal began, his deep voice booming through the chamber. "You have proven your worth, your potential. But now, the time has come for you to contribute to the greater good of the galaxy. You will submit tribute. You will provide resources, technology, and knowledge to us, to show that you understand your place in the galaxy." Elias looked out at the members of the council, whose various alien faces regarded him with either interest or contempt. Some were already nodding, agreeing with the demand. The humans had barely made a mark on the galaxy compared to the older species present. They were still young, still learning. The council expected compliance without question. "Humanity will give us something," Thrakal continued, "and you will do so willingly, as all who came before you have done. This is not a request. This is a command." Elias could feel the weight of their eyes on him, the pressure to bow to their will. His heart raced for a brief moment, but he kept his face neutral. He was not here to beg for mercy or plead for Earth's survival. He was here to represent humanity with dignity. The room fell silent, waiting for his response. The atmosphere was thick with expectation. Everyone knew how this went. Every new species had to bow to the Galactic Council. No one had ever dared to refuse. Elias took a deep breath, his eyes fixed on Thrakal. He stood tall, his voice steady, yet carrying a force that made the entire chamber pause. "No." Just one word, a single syllable, but it echoed through the room like a clap of thunder. A stunned silence followed. It was impossible. No one had ever dared to challenge the council like this before. Thrakal's expression shifted from surprise to anger. The other members of the council looked at each other in disbelief, whispering amongst themselves, "How dare this human refuse? Did he not understand who they were?" For a long moment, the room was still. Then, Thrakal's eyes narrowed, his reptilian pupils slitting in fury. He leaned forward, his voice laced with cold malice. "You will regret this, human," Thrakal warned. "The consequences of defying the council will be severe." But Elias remained unfazed. He could feel the tension rising, but he stood firm. Earth would not bow. Not today, not ever. The council may be powerful, but humanity had something they didn't understand, something they would soon come to regret underestimating. With that, Elias turned and walked out of the chamber. As he left, he couldn't help but wonder if the council had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. Back on Earth, the news spread quickly. Elias Graves had returned to the planet with a heavy heart, but a clear mind. The Galactic Council's demand had shaken the entire world, and now it was up to humanity to decide how to respond. Captain Graves was not just an envoy. He was the face of Earth's future in the galaxy. And his one-word answer, "no," had sent shockwaves through the universe. Elias met with the leaders of the United Earth Alliance in a secure war room, a place where the planet's highest officials gathered to discuss matters of great importance. The room was filled with tense faces as everyone looked to Elias for guidance. The Council's message had been clear: submit or face the consequences. The silence was broken by General Matthews, a tall man with a strong, no-nonsense demeanor. He was the first to speak. Elias, you've made your point, but now we need to understand the full scope of what we're up against. What will the Council do next? Elias stood at the head of the table, his arms folded, eyes focused. He knew the answer, but saying it out loud made it feel real. They will retaliate, Elias replied, his voice calm but firm. Thrakkel will not tolerate defiance. They will show their power, most likely through force. There was a nervous murmur among the officials. The Galactic Council wasn't just a group of diplomats. It was a coalition of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. They had fleets of warships capable of wiping out entire worlds with ease. Humanity had barely begun to explore the stars. Their military technology, though impressive for a young species, was nothing compared to the Council's arsenal. The next few hours were spent in intense discussions. Military leaders, scientists, and engineers worked together to assess humanity's options. They would need to defend Earth, but how? The Earth's forces were small compared to the galactic powers, and their technology was still catching up. Dr. Eva Larson, one of the leading scientists in humanity's space program, spoke up. We've been working on advanced defense systems, but they're untested. We have planetary shields that could hold off an attack, but we've never faced an enemy as powerful as the Galactic Council. If they decide to strike, we'll need more than just shields. Elias nodded thoughtfully. I agree, but we're not just going to rely on defense. We have something they don't: creativity. The Council expects us to fight like they do. They won't expect us to think differently, to adapt. We can use that to our advantage. But as Elias finished speaking, the door to the war room opened abruptly. A messenger from the United Earth Communications Division entered, holding a sealed data disk. He handed it to Elias without saying a word. The room grew quiet as Elias inserted the disk into the console. A holographic projection of Thrakkel appeared, towering and menacing. His cold, reptilian eyes glared down at them, and his voice was filled with venom. Humanity. Thrakkel's voice boomed. You have made your decision, and now you will face the consequences. We will not tolerate insubordination. You will surrender, or we will make you regret this insolence. In 7 cycles, the first wave of our fleet will arrive. Prepare yourselves. The choice is yours. The hologram flickered and disappeared, leaving the room in stunned silence. Elias's eyes narrowed as he watched the empty space where the projection had been. He could feel the tension in the room, but he knew what had to be done. They're coming, Elias said, his voice steady. We don't have much time, but we're not going to just sit here and wait for them to strike. We'll prepare, but we'll also send a message. General Matthews stood up, his expression serious. What's the plan, Captain? Elias looked around at the room full of faces, faces that were ready to fight, ready to protect Earth. He could see the fear in their eyes, but there was something else too: determination. Get the ships ready. We may be outgunned, but we will not be intimidated. This is humanity's chance to show that we will not be ruled, that we will stand our ground, no matter the cost. With that, the room filled with a new energy. The people of Earth were ready. They would not bend to the will of the Galactic Council. The challenge was set, and now it was time to show the galaxy what humanity was capable of. And far above, in the depths of space, Thrakkel would soon learn that humanity's answer was not just a refusal, it was a challenge. The tension in the war room had not faded. For days, humanity had prepared for the worst. The Galactic Council's threats hung over them like a storm cloud, and everyone knew that soon, the first wave of the Council's fleet would arrive. Elias Graves and the United Earth Alliance had spent every moment strategizing. testing new weapons, and enhancing Earth's defenses. The countdown had begun. On the day of the fleet's arrival, Earth's defenses were on high alert. Thousands of soldiers stood ready, and Earth's best scientists had worked tirelessly to finalize the latest weaponry. The military's new energy-based railguns, capable of firing projectiles at incredible speeds, were primed. The planetary shields were activated, and space stations were loaded with powerful energy disruptors. But still, there was doubt in the air. Could they really stand against the might of the Galactic Council? Elias stood on the observation deck, looking out at the swirling stars. He wasn't the kind of man to show fear, but even he couldn't deny the size of the challenge. The Galactic Council's fleet was enormous, stretching across the sky like a dark shadow. Ships of various sizes, each more advanced than anything humanity had ever seen, began to gather around Earth's orbit. The first wave was close. As the fleet approached, the communication systems buzzed to life. The screen in front of Elias flickered, showing a new message from Throckle. His reptilian face filled the screen again, his voice as cold and commanding as before. "Humanity," Throckle said, his tone laced with mockery. "We have come to collect what is ours. You have chosen defiance. Now you will learn what happens when an inferior species dares to challenge the Galactic Council. Prepare for your extinction." The transmission ended, leaving a sense of dread hanging in the air. Throckle's words were cruel, but Elias knew that the time for fear was over. He had made a promise to Earth, and he intended to keep it. "We're ready," Elias muttered under his breath. "This is our home, and we're not giving it up without a fight." As the enemy fleet drew closer, Earth's forces were put into position. The military was scattered across key points, from major cities to underground bunkers, ready to defend every inch. The railguns were lined up along the coastlines, ready to fire at the enemy ships. But the true power of Earth's defense lay in its planetary shields, an untested technology, yet one humanity hoped would keep them safe. Then came the first attack. The alien fleet fired a volley of laser beams, each one powerful enough to destroy a city in seconds. The beams hit Earth's shield, creating a massive explosion of energy as the two forces collided. The impact sent shockwaves rippling across the planet, but the shield held. For the moment, Earth was safe. "Fire the railguns," shouted General Matthews. The first volley from Earth's railguns launched into the sky, streaking through the atmosphere with a thunderous roar. The projectiles hit the nearest alien ship, punching through its armor and sending debris scattering into space. The enemy fleet responded with a barrage of their own, but Earth's defenses were holding strong, at least for now. Elias stood at the command center, eyes focused. The battle had only just begun, but it was clear that humanity's strategy was working. The aliens hadn't expected Earth to be so well prepared. They were used to dealing with civilizations that bowed to their will, not one that fought back with everything it had. "Captain Graves, we've detected a weakness in their formation." Dr. Eva Larson's voice crackled through the comms. "If we can hit their flagship, we might cause a ripple effect that could disable their entire fleet." Elias didn't hesitate. "Focus all fire on the flagship. We take out their leader, and the rest will fall." The railguns and energy disruptors shifted focus, locking onto the massive flagship at the center of the alien formation. With a roar, the weapons fired, sending powerful energy pulses toward the ship. The flagship's shields flickered and faltered under the onslaught. Another blast, and it was enough to pierce its defenses. The alien ship exploded in a brilliant burst of light, sending shockwaves through the rest of the fleet. The Council's ships, now disorganized, began to retreat, struggling to maintain formation. For the first time in the battle, it seemed that humanity had gained the upper hand. "Stay sharp," he said. "This is just the beginning. We've shown them that we won't back down, but they won't stop until they think they've won. Let's make sure they never get the chance." As Earth's defenses held strong, the enemy fleet began to withdraw, wounded and confused by humanity's unexpected resilience. The battle was far from over, but humanity had shown the galaxy a new side, one that would not bow, no matter the odds. The battle had not been won yet, but the victory over the alien flagship had sent a powerful message. The Galactic Council had underestimated humanity, and now, the tide of war seemed to have shifted. Earth's defenders stood tall, emboldened by the unexpected success. Yet, in the deep reaches of space, the Galactic Council was far from giving up. Elias Graves stood on the bridge of Earth's flagship, gazing out into the vast expanse of space. The enemy fleet had retreated, but not for long. The communications were flooded with reports of the Council regrouping, preparing for a second, larger wave. This time, they would be better prepared, and they would come with all their fury. "Captain, we've received a transmission from General Matthews," Dr. Eva Larson said, her voice breaking the silence. "He's reporting that the enemy has gathered reinforcements. They'll be back within a day." Elias nodded. He had expected this. The Council was proud, and their pride would not let them accept defeat so easily. But humanity had done something no one thought possible. They had made the Galactic Council bleed. "We need to keep the pressure on them," Elias said, turning to his team. "We've proven that we can hit them hard. Now, we need to make sure they don't recover." "Are we going to attack their fleet again, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Sarah Hansen, a young officer with a sharp mind and quick reflexes. Elias hesitated. He wanted to press the advantage, but attacking again without careful planning could be disastrous. The enemy might have regrouped, but they were far from defeated. Their ships were larger, more advanced, and the next wave would certainly come with more firepower. "No, we won't attack just yet," Elias replied. "We need to find a way to weaken them further, force them into a position where they can't retaliate. We need to strike their supply lines, their communication systems, take out their ability to coordinate, and they'll fall apart." The crew on the bridge got to work immediately, coordinating with military and intelligence units across the planet. Hours passed as they prepared for the next phase of their strategy. Earth had limited resources compared to the Galactic Council, but their ingenuity and determination were their greatest strengths. Meanwhile, in deep space, the Galactic Council was already preparing for its next strike. Throckle, still seething with rage over the destruction of his flagship, convened a council of his own. The holographic meeting room buzzed with the presence of alien leaders, each one more powerful than the next. "The humans have dared to defy us," Throckle said, his voice trembling with anger. "This insult will not go unpunished. We will crush them. But first, we must learn from our mistakes." One of the council members, a towering insectoid alien named Vilar, spoke up. "Throckle, we've underestimated them. Their weapons, though primitive, are effective. They've caught us off guard. If we strike too quickly, we risk losing more of our fleet." "Then what do you suggest?" Throckle snapped, his scales shimmering with rage. Vilar's multifaceted eyes glinted as he considered his words carefully. "We will need to adjust our strategy. We must take more caution. We will strike again, but this time, we must make sure the humans cannot retaliate. We will cut off their defenses and take control of their planet." As the Council made its preparations, Earth's forces were already on the move. The military had launched a series of covert missions to disable the enemy's communication hubs in nearby space sectors. They had learned quickly that the Galactic Council relied heavily on coordinated strikes, and if they could sever their ability to communicate, they could break the enemy's unity. Elias and his team followed every report closely, knowing that time was running out. Every hour that passed brought the enemy closer to their next attack. But humanity was not waiting idly. They were striking back. The first wave of the counter-offensive was a success. Earth's ships infiltrated enemy lines, disabling key communication satellites, and leaving the Galactic Council unable to coordinate their movements. The tide was shifting, but the battle was far from over. Elias sat in the command center, looking at the live feed of the battle unfolding. His fingers drummed on the console, his thoughts focused on one thing: Earth's survival. The Galactic Council might have underestimated humanity before, but now it would see what Earth was truly capable of. "We have them on the ropes," Elias said, his voice steady. "But we can't let up. We keep pressing, keep attacking their weaknesses. We may not have their power, but we have something they don't: the will to fight." The battle for Earth was far from over, but humanity had proven something undeniable. They were ready to fight for their future, and they would do whatever it took to win. The final battle had come. After days of strategic moves and calculated risks, the fate of Earth hung in the balance. The Galactic Council's reinforcements had arrived, a massive fleet stretching across the stars. This was their last chance to crush humanity and make them submit. But the humans had proven to be far stronger than expected. They had struck back with such force and precision that even the Council was beginning to question whether their victory was assured. On the bridge of Earth's flagship, Captain Elias Graves stood with his team, watching as the enemy fleet moved closer. The tension was thick in the air. Every officer on the bridge was focused, their eyes glued to the screens. The countdown had begun, and there was no turning back now. The final battle would decide everything. "We've disabled their communication systems," Dr. Eva Larson reported, her voice calm but sharp. "Their ships are no longer able to coordinate. They're scattered." Elias nodded. This was the moment they had been waiting for. The Galactic Council, once so proud, was now in disarray. They had underestimated humanity's ability to fight back, and now they were paying the price. "We have to hit them hard and fast," Elias said, his voice full of determination. "Target their lead ships and disable their flagship. Without leadership, the rest will fall apart." The crew moved swiftly, executing the plan with precision. Earth's forces, while smaller in number, had already gained the upper hand. The energy railguns were primed, and the massive shields surrounding Earth were holding strong. The first volley of fire was unleashed, streaking through space and slamming into the lead alien ships. Explosions lit up the dark sky as the enemy's defenses buckled under the force of humanity's retaliation. The battle raged on, but the Galactic Council was losing ground. Their fleet was scattered, and their ships were no match for Earth's technological advancements. Each alien ship that fell was a reminder that humanity had learned from its mistakes and fought back with everything it had. Meanwhile, on Earth's surface, civilians were glued to their screens, watching as the final stages of the battle unfolded. They had watched in awe as humanity took on the seemingly unbeatable Council and turned the tide of war. For the first time in years, there was a spark of hope. They were witnessing history in the making. But the battle was not without its challenges. A few of the larger Council ships managed to regroup, and their firepower was devastating. Earth's shields flickered under the pressure as beams of energy slammed into the defensive barriers. The ground shook as the world seemed to hold its breath. "This isn't over yet," General Matthews said, his voice tense. "We need to focus on that flagship. If we take it down, the rest will scatter." Elias clenched his fists. It wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about proving something to the galaxy. Humanity had fought for its place among the stars, and they wouldn't be wiped out without a fight. "We're going after it," Elias said, determination in his eyes. "We take down the flagship, and we end this." With one final push, the railguns fired again, focusing all their power on the enemy flagship. The massive ship shuddered under the barrage, its shields failing under the concentrated fire. A final, massive explosion tore through the flagship, sending debris scattering in all directions. The enemy's largest ship was no more. The remaining ships of the Galactic Council faltered, their commanders scrambling to regain control. The loss of their flagship had thrown their entire strategy into chaos. Earth's forces continued their assault, pushing the Council back and forcing them into retreat. The war was won. On the bridge, Elias let out a breath he didn't realize he had been holding. The battle had been hard, and they had lost many along the way. But they had emerged victorious. The Galactic Council, once a symbol of power and domination, had been defeated by a species they had once deemed insignificant. Humanity had proven that their will to survive was stronger than any force in the galaxy. As the last of the enemy ships retreated into the void, Elias turned to his team, a sense of pride swelling in his chest. "We did it," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "We've shown them what humanity is made of. We fought for our home, and we won." The crew erupted in cheers, but Elias knew this victory meant more than just defeating an enemy. It was about something much greater, the survival of humanity's spirit. They had faced extinction and emerged stronger, proving to the galaxy that humanity was not to be underestimated. The war was over. Earth had won. They were no longer just a small planet, hidden in the corner of the galaxy. They had proven that they could stand tall and fight, no matter the odds. And now, the galaxy would remember the name of Earth.